So here we are, race 2 of the Allied Petroleum TCR New Zealand Championship. This time it was Gene Rowlandson and Chris Vanderdrift off the front row, and Rowlandson got right in behind Vanderdrift, the earlier race winner, but couldn't get it done early on in the race, as we see them go out from under the bridge, and Radicic and Symes along with Ransley all having a bit of a battle there. Mickles and Patton also having a little bit of a scrap on the opening lap of the race, and they disappear into the back. It was a theme of the race, waiting in anticipation who would emerge in front in the battles, and it was Radicic and Patton along with Symes who started to get it on early in the race. Those guys having a great battle. Hayden trying to go around the outside of Paul Radicic, but just couldn't quite get the move done. Almost falling into the claws of Fitzgerald Symes, but small brake lock up from the rear there, nothing major. And then we saw Patton overtake Jaden Ransley. Great battle between those two Hyundais. They've both shown great pace throughout the weekend. But back up front, Chris Vanderdrift was leading the way. Gene Rowlandson in second. He was hot on his tail the whole length of the 30-minute race and had a couple of tries, a couple of looks at getting by, but ultimately he had to sit in behind and try and wait for Chris to make a mistake, try and force him into that mistake. But Chris Vanderdrift, fear the drift. He's just too good, and he managed to keep his Track Tech Racing Audi RS3 TCR in front of Rowlandson in the Racer Products i30N. Great battle they had all race, but even the lap traffic wouldn't stop it, and Chris Vanderdrift took back-to-back wins in the TCR Championship. Chris Vanderdrift, 2 wins in a row for TCR. Obviously you're enjoying it out there.
Yeah, I mean that was a lot harder then. We had a full dry race as such, and Jim was right on my tail the whole entire time and keep me honest, and sort of had to check where I was quicker and when he was quicker, and made sure in those areas I did my best that I could and kept a bit of a gap and managed that. And then you throw in the lap traffic as well, which is quite tricky to make sure you get a good run past them. So a couple of times I lost my gap fully, and Jim was right on my tail. So no, lucky pulled it off in the end, and still figuring it out.
Gene, you're pretty pacey out there. You've had 2 second places. You're just 16 points off the lead. Obviously, there's one more race to go. What's your strategy? Are you going to just try and sit in behind, or are you going to go all out?
It's hard. I mean, I guess again you sort of got to deal with the cars that are presented to you. Obviously, Chris he's a class driver. He's world class. You know, he's been around the world and raced all sorts of things. So, and being as good as he is, I mean, one of those things that you don't make mistakes. And so even though we had the same pace, sitting behind, it was quite noticeable the BOP difference. So we were down a little bit of power and a bit heavy with the Audis. So when you're going to a straight and he sort of gaps you, weren't close enough to make a move. So basically we're just sort of waiting for a mistake, and he was driving it so well that we couldn't do anything about it. So hey, we'll look to see what we do in the next race. The guys behind us are pretty quick as well. I mean, obviously Hayden's there and Jaden's there as well in terms of pace. So if you look at the lap times, we're all pretty close, which is what the whole point of TCR is, and those BOPs. So yeah, pretty cool series to be a part of, and yeah, I mean can't complain about being second, I guess. But yeah, we'll just see what happens in this last race.
Greg Murphy, 2 third places here at Highlands. How are you enjoying the TCR car?
Yeah, I had 2 very different little races there too. The first one was pretty entertaining and a bit of a hit and miss one with the changing conditions and the fact that we started on a wet tyre on the rear for that one, so it made it pretty interesting. That time round, actually, it was just Chris and Mr. Rowlandson. Gene just got away, and I sort of was struggling to find a way to actually maintain the a better gap to them. So, which is a bit of learning really, just trying to understand exactly the way these cars need to be driven, I think, more than anything else. So yeah, it was a bit of a lonesome sort of event, that one. I was watching the gap there to Hayden, who was trying obviously to catch up. But we maintained that and yeah, came home. So pretty clean so far, which is nice. We want to get through the weekend without any scrapes or scratches.